Ah, what's going on, everyone? Matic here. Hope everybody had a happy Halloween. Welcome back to our On the Road to Baki series update number 11. So first thing I want to get out of the way is, so the way that I usually film these is the background footage or B footage, whatever you want to call it, that is usually playing of me doing the actual things in the latest update is usually the filming of the last session before the filming of this, which is Monday night going into Tuesday morning. And about a little over a week ago, for some reason, I developed a knot from hell right in the curve of my right shoulder blade to where even coughing almost took me down to my knees. So lifting and stuff like that, you won't really see footage of what I've been doing this past 2 months, but if I still have the footage, you will see the previous 2 months, and I'll go over the differences of those. I will try to get footage of me doing the technique stuff if I can. Just kind of depends on if this twinges or anything like that. It's only been the last day or so that it hasn't nearly hurt, but I can still feel it there, so we'll see what we can do. So getting into our technique stuff, the only really change we did since last time is we took our stepping punch that had no target. It was just an air working purely on technique and moving or efficiency of moving, and I started hitting a heavy bag. I say heavy bag is probably like between like 60 maybe 80 pounds. It's mostly just enough to give me some resistance, and I can kind of check on like what my body is or is not doing correctly. And with that, it has been kind of interesting, and this will go back to my video that I did about the different types of hitting targets we can use and kind of the main purpose of certain hitting targets. So with the heavy bag, what I'm kind of finding is it's a weird mental trick, right, that kind of happens. Like, you technically know you're doing the same thing, and the only difference is there's now a thing in front of you. But you will find that when you go from like just doing basic like jabs and rear hands and stuff like that, that when suddenly there's something in front of you to actually hit, your body starts doing weird things. And that's one of the things that I'm finding is that even though the bag is much lighter and I can just blow right past it pretty easily, I am still finding that almost just before contact or something, my body like rises up or tenses up like to try to handle that impact or the recoil that's about to happen with the bag, and then some of that force coming back into me. My body's like doing weird tension stuff that I don't like, and I have to pay really close attention to make sure that doesn't happen. Because if you have weird tension in places you don't need it, it makes it harder to do your next technique with efficiency, or to possibly get out of way or change position or even defend yourself. If your body's all of a sudden having to deal with that recoil, it's busy doing that and not trying to fight the other person. With the kicking portion, again, we're kind of doing the same thing that we did the previous update, and I'm taking a position after a punch, pulling back or coming up and throwing a kick there. I've kind of been playing of different levels, whether it be body or whether it be head, and kind of messing with how much power I hit with. I've mostly been working on with how it feels. Does it feel easy to do? Does it feel hard to do? Do I feel weird tension in places I shouldn't? Does the movement seem like it's longer or takes more time than it should? Just kind of all these little things I've been messing with. With the portion where I'm trying to work on controlling, on keeping good form with punching with my rear hand, and changing on how hard or how softly I hit while still keeping the correct technique, that's been going pretty well, very well. I kind of alternate between first hitting like all the way through, boom, full technique, full commitment, and just slowly backing that down, ramping it up, breaking it back down, just kind of making my body or tricking my body into which power level I choose to do depending on the situation. So going into exercises, as you probably saw at the beginning of the video, I am now in a garage. I have now graduated from being down at the barn and moved my workout equipment like into the garage, where there's now shelter and a little bit of heat and air.
He gonna stay in the big house?
Which is really good considering, again, we just had Halloween, we were going into the colder months, and the garage is much closer, which it's just a little over 100 feet from where my house is. I just walk over, do all my working out, even including the sword stuff. I have space in here to do weapons, and it keeps me from having to go down to the barn if it's raining or if it winds up snowing. My body isn't getting soaked or wet, and then you have to try to work out when you're wet and you don't want to be. So it being much closer up here does make it easier in order for me to get my workouts in, especially since now, again, I have lights here, which I don't at the barn. If it's late at night or something like that, before I go into work, I can just come over, do my sessions, and then wind up going to work afterward. But the changes that we have done for this past update is for the deadlift. Still doing deadlifts, but this time instead of doing 10 reps kind of one after the other, nice static tempo or speed of how fast I do the movement, what I've done now is kept the reps the same number, but I'm making the lift more powerful or more energetic or just quicker on the lifting portion of it. So now we're moving a little bit more into away from the quote unquote muscular endurance and stuff like that and more into the power build. And in order to do that, it's kind of simple. You just take a weight and you try to move it quickly. But please do that safely however you can. For the shoulder press movement, since I was kind of getting to a high enough weight for me that I couldn't reliably clean and then do my presses to go into it, I went down to a kettlebell, primarily the kettlebell that I've been doing my dumbbell swings, which is my 50-pound kettlebell, and then pressing it that way. And I can tell that I'm mostly going to be sticking around to that kind of weight for shoulder presses, which is perfectly fine because when you do exercises for like single or alternating sides, it does have more of a benefit than if you were to do an exercise that included both sides moving at the same time, especially with the connection between them. As well as that, as you can probably see in the background, I have a line of swords that I've been using for working grip type stuff that has been primarily for my Iron Fist video that will be coming out in a month. And I have definitely been able to tell that that's been helping with grip and stuff like that. And it's been very interesting on doing purposeful work versus all the other kind of stuff I've done in the years past when it comes to weapons. I've kind of done weapons for a fairly long time, but I wind up talking about it on dedicated practice versus just kind of fooling around and how that can really, really change things. But because that video will be coming out in a month, I'm not gonna like show the grip testing and stuff like that. I don't use the grip tester in between the videos that I do because I want to be surprised just like you. For diet type stuff, I've still mostly been doing fairly well with that. One of the new things that I got is I actually bought the 14-inch Hexclad wall. Hexclad is the cooking wear brand of Gordon Ramsay and stuff like that. I really, really like this thing. I've been using it a lot ever since I bought it almost 2-something months ago. And that's kind of one of the things. If you buy a tool that's going to help you accomplish a thing, better eating habits, you are more likely to do that thing. Anything that can help you accomplish that goal, you are more likely to accomplish that goal. So that has been really great. So as for updates for the technique, so I'm pretty much going to keep everything the same these last 2 months because the next update will basically be the New Year update. And I'm really wanting to focus on trying to get that weird flinching or tensing thing out of when I go to hit the heavy bag for this movement. And kind of one of the reasons I am flinching or whatever is because there's so much time between the start of the movement until there's actual impact that your brain or your body kind of has that kind of micro time to just like flinch or prep or whatever versus like just stepping in and throwing a punch. There's really not a whole lot of time for your body to start doing weird things. So I'm going to keep doing with that so I can work on really getting rid of that flinching part, but I'll also bounce back and forth between the smaller heavy bag and my 130-pound Muay Thai bag, which is a really big tester of how good your recoil management or posture and stuff really is. For the kicking portion, where I go from my extended punch position to then going into a kick, I'm going to start laying into a little bit more power with that, because once you start laying in power, it really starts to check on how good, again, your recoil management happens. And that is really important when it comes to kicks because your foundation or your base is literally all on one leg. So it all comes down to how good your preparations, one before the kick makes contact, but also how good your foundation is during that momentary instance of impact. Especially, again, when you're on one leg and with a round kick that's going to the side. It's really hard to manage not moving when you're coming into the side. Now, if it's going straight like a front kick or a side kick, it's far easier to kind of manage that versus, again, a round kick. For the exercises, I'm pretty much going to keep it about the same, although probably one of the things that I will do is I'll bring my 35-pound kettlebell and I'll swap between my 50 and my 35 for the kettlebell swings, but also the shoulder presses just to kind of give myself a little bit of variety. and I'm not constantly doing the same weight. So it's making my body have to either adapt or mitigate the different forces of just dumbbell swinging a 50 to a 35. It is quite a bit different. If you don't know how to properly do a kettlebell swing, the weight does make a huge difference. So, and for the diet, I've pretty much kind of got it mostly handled, and I have been seeing good results because about a couple of weeks ago, for like the last like 6-8 months or whatever, we most have been working on getting students ready for a big exam, big black belt exam. So we haven't really been focusing too much on sparring or fighting stuff, mostly making sure they know the material and can do the material correctly. But we did wind up sparring a few weeks ago, and I really miss sparring. It's so fun. So I do know that my training has been going well, considering I haven't sparred personally in way too long. But in that instance, I was moving, I was grooving, I felt good. I didn't hurt afterwards. And it's not like I was holding back a lot in what I was doing. I was kind of letting myself have fun. And the fact that I didn't hurt the next day or next couple of days after, at least able to show that my body is able to perform when it needs to. So that's great. So that is it for this update. I hope everybody winds up having a good, happy Thanksgiving, a great Merry Christmas and New Year's. Please be safe. Again, in next month video will be the update of the Iron Fist training. I'm Attic, and I'll catch y'all next time.